Chest up, shoulders back. This is Revival Fitness, your home for gains and brains, and we're taking a step into the time machine today. We are going to react to one of my first videos that really, I'm not going to say went viral, but it got a good number of views, especially for the size of my channel back at that time. It is the 4K Full Day of Eating, published on August 16th, 2021. So my channel was a year old and some change. So if you haven't been here for that long, whenever I came on YouTube, it was March of 2020. You know what happened then. I was essentially cutting for many months, and I was doing nothing but workouts at home with body weight. I eventually moved into the place that you will see here, and I spent that nice government cheese they were handing out on a bunch of home gym equipment. When this video came out, they had finally reopened things. I was getting back to work as a trainer at the gym, and I don't remember exactly how much I weighed. Probably low 170s or so, maybe mid 170s. Okay, so the old intro to start things off. I've had some people ask about that. I haven't included this in videos in a while now. The reason I took out the intro more than anything else was because I found myself even rewatching my own videos, skipping over it, and I find myself doing that with other channels too. So I still think the intro is cool, but I think the content is ultimately better without it.
We are back with Cultivating Mass, the bulking project. Today we're going to go through a full day of eating. Now I want to make a quick disclaimer, guys. Not every single food you're going to see today is going to be totally healthy, quote unquote. There's going to be some processed ingredients. Not everything's going to be totally organic. It's not all just chicken, rice, and broccoli. I know that scares the death out of some of you. Oh, you're going to get heart disease and get obese, dude. Guys, this is about getting in calories.
You can already see how my mentality is shifted now versus what it was here. This is something that comes with age and experience. I mean, my diet and nutrition takes overall are far, far more nuanced and informed. That means they're better now than they used to be, especially closer to the beginning of the channel. I mean, it takes a lot of time in general to really learn about all these topics, but this is a very classic mentality where it's like, okay, just get the calories in, bro. Like, all you're focused on is hitting the number on a piece of paper, and a lot of guys I talk to even still, they always talk about, oh, I get X amount of protein per day. They don't know what else they're getting. There's a lot you can really nail down with your nutrition, guys, and I talk about all of these things in much more detail in my body composition Bible. And I know this upsets a lot of guys because they say, oh, but bro, it's too much work. And I know there's plenty of people that can't eat junk food all the time, and all they do is punch in the numbers on the calorie tracker. Oh, he got really ripped doing it, bro. Okay, yeah, he did. But can you? And you can only get so many steps and do so much cardio every day. Your diet is the cornerstone of this dilemma. And if you are not gifted like me, in terms of being able to stay lean, even eating a lot of food, if you don't lose body fat easily, I'm telling you, you have to nail these things down.
Most of this diet is clean, but I simply do not have the time to eat nothing but totally clean raw foods all day. I don't have the time to prepare it. I don't have the time to eat all of it. I gotta do what I gotta do. So if that scares you, if you're one of these only eating clean zealots...
Alright, let me leave a comment on my old video. Okay, this is funny too. I put up this meme, like the sugar is killing us, sugar is poison. It's funny now because I essentially say this. And look, man, I'm not one of these guys that is like, oh, if you have a little bit of sugar per day, you're going to drop dead or any of this stuff. Now that said, I'm at a point now where I much better understand the issues that come with, for example, eating a lot of sugar. So we'll see how much sugar I'm eating in this video, but I know a lot of you are doing that right now. And one of the biggest ways that people get sugar in, especially in the gym context, is from energy drinks and their pre-workout. Now, on the other hand, these pre-workout gummies from Tasty Gains, made in the USA, only have 1 gram of sugar per gummy. They don't have all those chemicals, and they contain everything you need for an effective pre-workout supplement. Each of these gummies contains almost as much caffeine as 2 cans of Red Bull, and you also get vitamin B6, B12, niacin, L-citrulline, L-theanine, and L-carnitine in each serving. And even with the very low sugar content, they're still very sweet. They taste like a Sour Patch Kid, and they currently come in strawberry creamsicle and blue raspberry flavors. So definitely give Tasty Gains a try, and if you want to save $5 on every container, check out their monthly subscription option. The link for them will be down below.
It is about 7:45, 8 in the morning. I just got up, and we're gonna start with breakfast.
All right, so we're gonna start with eggs. For me, it's something that I don't think I can even really deviate from. Like, I have a hard time mentally eating things other than eggs in the morning.
At this point now, I don't buy these type of eggs. These look typical store-bought. You can see the shells are white, the yolks are not terribly vibrant. I like to buy pasture-raised eggs now, especially if you don't eat a lot of whole-fat animal foods in general. I mean, the nutrient density of eggs is really, really good. You're going to get more omega-3s and other vitamins and minerals with the pasture-raised ones. Quick tip for you guys too, you often see the labels that say like free range or cage free. I'm not going to go into all the details here, but those words don't really mean anything. Like, they can have extremely limited access to the outdoors and their natural diets and all that stuff. Now, pasture raised may or may not be organic. If you want to go full pasture raised organic, you might as well if you can afford it. But pasture raised in general is the best bet, and I think it is worth the price. In terms of a general brand that you can get across the United States at least, I like Vital Farms. I have gotten these in a number of states over the years. They always taste good, the yolks are always vibrant, and you can scan the QR code that comes with the box and actually see the farms. And I was not paid by Vital Farms for that endorsement, but I could be.
And another thing too, I know on fitness content it's common to see people only eat the egg whites and they'll throw away the egg yolks. Like, they'll literally like do this with the egg, right? And they'll throw away half of the damn egg. I mean, if you're cutting and you really need to, I guess that makes sense. But guys, there's really no reason not to eat the entire egg. Most of the nutrients are in the yolk.
I was talking about that even back then. I see a lot of bodybuilders too, for their breakfast. They'll be like, oh, I had 1 or 2 whole eggs and then 5 egg whites. And like, I get it in terms of the overall macros, but I just find the entire thing funny. Like, you're wasting so much good stuff, but can't have that fat, bro. You need that space to shovel down more rice.
So we still got some ab definition, right? The obliques are still showing a bit. Probably need to manscape. I haven't done that in a while, but I think things are looking decent here to start.
So this is the physique back then. And I'm sure some of you are currently commenting this as I speak. You're trying to get to this point right now with your body, let alone where I am currently. In terms of how long it takes to get here, I can't say for sure for you because I don't know your circumstance and overall your genetics. I was in novice purgatory for almost 3 years before I started this channel, and I could have gotten here much faster than I did if I did not make all those mistakes. So to put a label on this, I would say intermediate, right? Like, I had benched 225 for reps already, deadlifted 405 for reps, squatted 315 for reps. I did not bench 315 by the end of this bulk. I think my best was 275, and that was a very, very tough rep. But I did hit the 500 deadlift and the 4-plate squat. But for a lot of people, man, this physique right here, and then subtract, say, 5 to 7% body fat, a lot of people will be happy with that. Unfortunately, I am not, and I'm a psycho, and I'm going to keep pushing this more and more, and I guess that's the cross I choose to bear. Also notice the sus delts. I get so many comments about my shoulders. I've shown you guys before what they look like through the years. Here's what they look like, well, it's going to be almost 4 years ago now, this coming summer. So you can be the judge of how I got these.
So while the eggs are cooking, we're going to make some half peanut butter sandwiches. And guys, I'm not going to like run down the exact math of all of these meals. I did the math on MyFitnessPal. Again, counting calories, you're never going to be 100% accurate.
That's true. People have a really hard time accepting and acknowledging that.
There's simply no way to be. I mean, I see guys on here, right? They literally are weighing like single grains of rice in their videos, and they're not even competing in anything. It's like, yeah, you're gonna get an eating disorder that way, bro.
I noticed a lot of these trends, even though my overall nutritional philosophy has changed a fair amount, especially at the height of my entire maingaining saga, whenever I was really on top of that. So many comments from people that watch Greg Doucette and similar people. Do you remember when anabolic eating, it was around this time when it got really big, and all those channels just put out recipes, and it would be some snack food, but it was bastardized to be anabolic. So it'd have protein powder in it, and remove all the fat, and a bunch of sweeteners, and prebiotic fiber, and just a total disaster for your gut. And people were just eating this shit up. And I got dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of comments over the span of months about people that developed eating disorders, and they did the anabolic diet, and it worked for a little bit, then they just had no energy, their hormones became shot. And by the way, this problem can occur without all of the so-called anabolic foods and everything, but they are a gateway into the eating disorder mentality and reality for a lot of people.
Like here, you see with the peanut butter. I'm not sitting here, right, like measuring off a tablespoon. I just eyeball it for the most part. And once you make food and eat food and prepare food long enough, guys, you get a general eyeball idea of how much something is.
Now, a lot of people, in terms of their overall appetite, they cannot control it, so they have to be much more strict with things. But even so, I mean, we're going to see some of these foods I eat coming up too. A lot of the foods that people eat, and the anabolic ones fall under this window too a lot of the time, they're just not conducive to satiety. And people can still have overeating problems if they eat nothing but, say, whole foods. But in general, it's less likely, and especially depending on the foods you pick and the macro breakdowns that you choose. This is peanut butter too. This is a notorious trigger food for a lot of people. And it's commonly the one you see in all of the nutrition posts, where it's like, you have a tablespoon of peanut butter, you think it's this much, and then you have this much on it. If you are somebody that does gain fat easily, you're going to have less leeway overall. That's just how it goes per person. In terms of the peanut butter here, this is the Jif Natty peanut butter. The ingredients off the top of my head, I believe it's peanuts, salt, they throw in some sugar, and then palm oil. But normal Jif peanut butter, or Skippy, or any general brand, especially the store brands, complete shit. At least in the United States. I mean, this stuff is going to have a cocktail of seed oils in it.
For a lot of you skinny guys, bro, you need to liberate yourself from this fear of eating.
And also think about how lucky you are to live in a society where there is abundant food at all times. You guys see what's going on in Cuba right now?
Okay, I don't even fully remember the Cuba thing. If I'm not mistaken, they had some major issue with, like, food supplies and empty shelves in the stores. The quote on the screen here, "Screw your freedom," from Arnold. This was in relation to the C-19 and the mask, I think. I don't fully remember, but he got a lot of flack for this comment. That is a fair point, though. I mean, I don't think a lot of people really appreciate the world that you and I live in. I'd assume almost everybody watching this. I mean, the abundance around us, it's just crazy compared to human history, and even a lot of the world still.
I call them egg peanut butter tacos. Sort of.
Yeah, these were controversial. I remember people in the comments were like flabbergasted, like, what is that?
Like so. Alright, here we go.
So the bread, I'm sure, was general store bread. It probably was whole wheat, which, you know, I guess is better, so-called. But even so, all kind of ingredients in these breads. But if you want to get, like, just bread, like sourdough, or just flour and yeast and some water and maybe a little bit of butter or something, you gotta go to the ends of the earth, unless you can make it yourself. Going to a typical supermarket, man, all of these breads, I mean, I've done this myself. I have gone up and down the entire bread aisle reading these labels.
All right, now the honey bunches are back. We haven't had these in the diet for a while. All right, now the question is, will the milk splash everywhere when I pour it in? All right, let's see. Oh, that was actually... fuck!
It's one of those cereals where they market it as more healthy because it's like, oh, well, there's oats. And, you know, honey always has this connotation of being good. There's essentially no nutrients to speak of there, but it tastes nice, and it's not as bad on the surface as something like, you know, Fruit Loops or Cocoa Krispies or Cinnamon Toast Crunch, any really sugary type of cereal. So even at the breakfast itself, I mean, we had a good amount of sugar. And by the way, guys, if you want to see my most recent full day of eating, you can check out the video What the Carnivore Diet Did to Me. I know that still really upsets people. I don't even go full carnivore truly, but it's the bulk of what I eat. That will be linked down below.
It's a couple hours later. It is now time for meal 2, and it's going to be a shake.
So I fill this up to the line here. It's about 2 cups.
I don't believe that I cook these. I do not like uncooked oats. I mean, I managed to do so, but even in hindsight, oh god, I much prefer to have them cooked. Like, watching this now is even difficult to conceive of me eating this. Like, I blend it up and put milk and stuff in it, so it's not really bad texture-wise, but I would not do this again.
So we'll throw in our a little base of Fairlife.
Okay, Fairlife is always popular. They remove some of the sugar from the milk itself. They managed to make this stuff so sweet.
Flavor and taste. Add in water to break up the texture of the oats.
Alright, so the macros of this shake are much more in line with typical bodybuilding nutrition. Fat is pretty darn low, protein is high, and then carbs are pretty high as well. One more thing, notice the rocket blender I'm using. That thing was okay, it ended up breaking on me pretty quickly. I use this blender right now. The pitcher itself is made of glass, it has a lot of settings, it's very strong, it's lasted me a number of years at this point. I love this thing.
We'll put it down and then I'm gonna be off to the gym. I did some work earlier. I don't know what day it is anymore, guys. I just mindlessly work and lift all the time. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah, still true to this day.
To this day!
And we are done with the workout, and now it is time for meal number 3. And hold on to your butts because this is gonna be the very processed section. Cliff Bars. So 250 calories.
Cliff Bars are something I used to eat all the time, man. And once again, they fall under that marketing umbrella of like, oh, it's organic and they're natural foods and everything. These things are glorified candy bars. Alright? I know they're tasty. Dude, I used to put these things down like candy bars. I mean, I would eat 2 to 3 of these every single day. Sometimes even more than that. And they'll show people lifting weights or hiking or surfing or whatever the physical activity is going to be. They're a great example of a general food that most people, because they're not literate when it comes to reading food labels and understanding this stuff, they would think, oh, it's a Cliff Bar, it's healthy. It's really not.
5 grams of fat, only 1.5 grams saturated fat. We have 44 grams of carbs. 21 of that is added sugar. But here's the rationale. I'm having this post-workout for 2 main reasons. 1, I need a lot of calories to recover, and I don't have a lot of time like I just told you.
Well, I probably could have had more time if I didn't keep talking.
If you're gonna have sugar in your diet, or processed foods or your sweets, I've talked about this before, guys, you're best suited to have them after you work out to replenish the glycogen stores in your muscles. So I'm gonna have these 2 bars with a glass of milk. If you couldn't tell, I'm a milk guy.
Still am, but not as much.
Whole milk, by the way. None of this 1% horse shit.
This was before I formally entered the raw milk vortex. And I'm a conspiracy theorist now because I tried it, and I don't think it's dangerous. People on Instagram got really upset about that.
And I'll also have a glass of Fairlife for good measure because I need more calories.
The whole milk after the workout is probably the big cog there. What I mean by that is, if you want to do high protein, high carb, low fat pre-workout, you would want to do the same thing post-workout too. So in terms of not only really the easiest to prepare, because all you have to do is mix it, also the fastest digesting carb source. It is exclusively glucose. It is in the form of cluster dextrin. I get mine from Transparent Labs. You can use code REVIVAL to save 10% off all orders on their site. But this stuff is excellent because of the convenience, and it is absorbed rapidly. It is a pure source of carbs and nothing else. So whether you do high carb or even low carb, if you want to include them in some capacity. So whether you take it pre-workout, even during the workout or after the workout, this is something that I go to routinely now.
All right, now we are here for the first dinner, or meal 4. Just got back from working with people. We got the chicken in there. Got to make some new chicken. By the way, guys, I really need to start making some money on this damn platform. Because, like, I cook so much. I spend so much time at night making food. It's ridiculous. So if you're still watching at this point and you haven't subscribed, what the hell are you doing?
Great question. But that's one of the reasons I moved away from chicken. I like to do Greek yogurt now, namely Oikos, 000 or Pro. You will be getting some sugar with those. It is going to be the lactose sugar, so it's not really added. But regardless of that, the time that you will spend in the kitchen with this lifestyle seriously, it adds up a lot. And especially at a time like this, I was getting home from work oftentimes at 9 or 10 at night, and there's still a lot of food to be eaten. And even if you meal prep, I mean, you're going to be going through so much food, it becomes very, very time consuming. So I know chicken breast gets a lot of hate, and it's a meme like, oh, dry chicken breast, so bad. Dude, I love chicken breast. If you season it properly, during my next cut, which is not going to be until next year, most likely, maybe I'll go back to it because it's really just protein and nothing else. But I'm not in a rush.
But this is a classic dish of mine. It's very simple. We got beans, rice, and chicken. It's essentially a very simple burrito bowl.
I used to eat beans all the time. I think I've mentioned this before, but I was vegetarian right before I started the channel for a while. And, it's like, oh, cool, these have protein and fiber. Look, man, in hindsight, I did not realize how much damage beans were doing to me and my digestion. I mean, I used to go to the bathroom very regularly, and I thought it was just normal, and it would not be easy, if you want to call it that. And I had beans all the time, and I just never really put it together. It wasn't until I stopped eating them, and then I just noticed immediate improvements with my digestion. And you may find this for given foods with yourself. And then I think there is brown rice in here. If I'm going to eat rice now, I would make it white, because there's less phytic acid in it. The positive of the brown, whether it's rice or bread or pasta or anything, it has more of the fiber because they don't really strip it down. But you guys might wonder why in bodybuilding there's so much obsession over white rice. It's actually better because it is more refined. Because the fiber's taken out of it, it's going to absorb quicker. There's less anti-nutrients after you go through that process.
I gotta finish this, and then we'll be having meal 5 in like 90 minutes after this, maybe even 60 minutes.
All right, and now it's about 10 o'clock. Final meal of the day.
Pasta. Also, here's another thing. You know when you put marinara in your Tupperware, like this thing just has like this permanent red musk on it?
I've since gone to glass Tupperware for all sizes and all foods. That's definitely not going to stain. I see a lot of meatheads even still. They will bring their plastic Tupperware everywhere they go, and they will heat it up. So they're putting their food in the microwave and effectively just cooking the plastics into their food. Even if you've got Tupperware or a plastic water bottle or jug or whatever it's going to be, a shaker bottle, if you leave that sitting in your car, especially now we're getting into spring and summer, it gets really warm outside, these cars turn into saunas on the inside, especially if they're not in the shade. And people have their food and drink sitting in these plastic containers. I mean, you're just cooking this stuff all day long.
By the way, if you're one of these people that can't do dishes, if your parents do them for you, if your roommates do them for you, go fuck yourself.
I have not changed at all in that regard, man. Bro, people are so disgusting. I'm not going to go into the whole rant here, but people's inability to do something as simple as dishes. If you can't wash dishes after a meal, you should be sent to Guantanamo Bay, and not just sent there like we're going to torture you too.
And now we are here with the chicken salad portion. Let's get the chicken out here. So this is the final thing I eat before bed. I never ate a lot of spinach growing up, but I eat it almost every single day now.
Notice too, this is raw spinach. I would much prefer it to be cooked. In general, I don't eat spinach at all anymore. For some people, when it comes to cutting, they will like to have a lot because it fills them up. In the bulking context, the vegetables might not be great because they do that. So if you have a high food intake you want to meet, I would say minimizing the vegetables. It can be a good idea.
This is kind of getting redundant at this point. That's why these eating videos are so funny. You can only watch somebody put food in their mouth for so long, I think.
Yeah, the full day of eating content tends to be very popular, especially depending on who makes it. And a lot of the time, if it's a big influencer, they'll go out to eat. We'll go to Five Guys, we'll get crumble cookie, we'll get sushi. If you want to see me react to the Tren twins' full day of eating during their bulk, check out the video in the top corner. On that note, the daily totals here: 230 grams of protein, 500 grams of carbs, 130 grams of fat. So to do some quick percentages, the protein accounts for about 23% of the total daily intake. The carbs account for, it's going to be about 50%. So that means the fat is going to be about 27%. I mean, even the amount of fat here is pretty darn high, even in a bulking context. In general fitness and bodybuilding advice, even eating 5,000 plus calories a day, oftentimes you'll see these people post their macros and it's going to be 70, 80 grams of fat. And then you compare that to now and my eating overall. There's definitely some aspects that I've kept in, but it has really changed. And I am much happier with it now, and I think the results speak for themselves. But this has been it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the Body Composition Bible as well as my training programs linked down below. Stop wasting your precious time in the gym and in the kitchen. If you want to get in direct contact with me, the best way to do so is to schedule a consultation call. Email me, found in the description box too. Hit me up on Patreon, or fill out the coaching questionnaire if you want to work with me directly in as much detail as we can. And I will catch you guys next time.